Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit non-traditional as far as rings go, and so I'm going to do something made out of two pieces of sheet where I cut a hole through both of them and shape them in an interesting way. And it should end up being sort of a non-traditional squarish sort of ring. I picked out a nice Tanzanite to be the stone, and it's about a 3x5, so it's a relatively small one, but I'm going to bezel set it and put it on the top. So it should be a pretty piece. I think it'll be fun, and it should be a good project. So let's get started on it. So these are a couple of my design idea sketchbooks you can get on my merch store. If you notice, they usually have some useful information about metalsmithing on the back. This one has fractions of an inch to decimals to millimeters, a conversion chart. But the real feature I find that's useful for me the most is this dot matrix in the background. I like to sketch out each of my projects when I'm getting ready to do them, and that helps me to draw better pictures. So maybe you should get yourself one or two of those. I find it useful to keep track of my projects that way. All right, let's see what we got going on today. So I was trying to figure out exactly what shape I wanted this band to be. I have these two pieces of, they're roughly 16 gauge sheet. I made it out of recycled scrap, and I cast it and rolled these out. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do, I thought about doing it like this and then cutting holes through it, but then I thought it might be kind of fun to have a double wave like that, and then shape the overall thing kind of like this and have a stone on top. I picked a Tanzanite that's actually oval instead of round like I drew there. Should be able to see that. It's a pretty little stone. I don't use Tanzanite very much. It is a little bit on the delicate side, so, and it's expensive for what you get. But I think it's very pretty. It's got a color change characteristic when you look at it from one dimension. It's usually blue on one way and purple or red on the other way. So, but we'll make a little bezel for that. I'm going to use 3/16 inch fine silver bezel strip in 26 gauge. I'll cut it a lot shorter, so it'll end up being maybe, well, that is 4.76 millimeters by 0.41. I'll cut it down to maybe 3 millimeters or less, and we'll create a little step out of 18 gauge round wire. If you're new to my channel, here's a little bit of information about my torch and my solder and my flux and everything. There should be a little message about my disorganization on my table here, maybe. So I'm going to cut that a little bit shorter while I'm here. That'll just shave a little filing off of there for me. Cut it a bit shorter. So if you're new to this, you probably already melted a few bezels. Unless you're really new. There's not much metal in a bezel, so it doesn't take very long for the metal to reach the flow temperature of the solder. Usually 3 or 4 seconds for a little tiny bezel like this anyway. I'm just kind of reshaping it into an oval now. You could use a bezel mandrel if you want, like this. That'll help us out a bit. Well, should we see how close we are? I think we got it pretty close. Now let's find some 18 gauge. Here's a little bit. I'm going to make a ring or two to put that, to create a step for that stone to sit on. I like to overlap these a little bit like that so I can kind of size them up or down to get them to fit just in there. That one fits in there pretty well. Oops, come back here. So let's make one more. Let's see if we can get it to sit right on top of that one. And let's just, I usually just kind of set these on top of 2 or 3 pieces of solder. See, I'm heating from the outside like I normally would, just a regular bezel at the bottom too. Maybe give it just a bit of a file on the bottom to flatten it out nice. Okay, so you get a pretty decent bottom on that then. A little step for the stone to sit on. If we need to, we can also taper that down a little bit and kind of create a seat for the stone. I think it's time to go cut out the circles on these. If I remember, I set it at about a size 10, knowing that I'm going to lose a little bit when I do it like this, when I make it into that shape. Presupposing I'm capable of making it into that shape, we'll find out. But I think it'll be easier once we cut out the center here. So I scribed circles on there at about a size 10. So let's go over to the sawing area. I'll drill a couple of starter holes and we'll see how good we're sawing tonight. One of these days I'm going to have to make a new bench pin here. Okay, let's see how we're doing on sawing tonight. Well, there's one down, and once I'm done with these, I'll use the Dremel with an abrasive white wheel to clean those up and make them nice and round. So, okay, I got those cleaned up pretty well, and I think my next step is going to be to start bending them into this kind of like wavy shape. And I thought I might use my longer bail making pliers like this, maybe as a starting point. Oh, we'll see if that works or not. I think that's solderable. Let's do that. That took a lot more fiddling with than I expected, so we'll try and get it as close as we can. I do something called pick soldering, where I pick up a little bit of solder on the end of a titanium pick, which looks like this. And it allows me to place the solder kind of right where I want it to go. And so it's a good method to learn. If you're interested, I will put a video up there for you. It's probably the most important skill I learned doing this. As far as being able to make me capable of doing things I couldn't do before. Metalsmithing. I'm going to try and spread these out just a little bit more because I think that'll look cooler. Okay, so after much messing with this and not really finding the success that I wanted as far as making it uniform, I think I'm going to change plans. Every once in a while you run into a project that doesn't turn out the way that you want it to, and with this one I just couldn't get it as symmetrical or as neat as I wanted it to be. And so I'm going to go a different route. We're just going to change plans and make a different kind of project. Sometimes you got to embrace the things that aren't working and go a different way. So here's my thought. I'll make a pendant out of this, and this will be kind of a frame for a stone. And since I got this pass-through area here, I'm going to do something like this, where I've made a bezel for a little rose-cut black spinel that I have here, and I thought maybe we could mount that bezel right in here like this, so it's kind of framed by the circle basically. And then I'm going to cut a notch in the top of this one here and bend this around like that. I think we can probably just solder this on top of that. And then I'll add some kind of bail up here on top. I haven't decided exactly what yet. But I may beat this up a little bit more just to make it look intentional. So let's see if we can do that stuff. I used the same kind of materials for the bezel on this one. I just wanted to save time since we already made a bezel. But let's do that and see how it works. I kind of probably need to make a mark here where this is going to be notched a little bit. And I want to notch that so that when I make a loop around here, it will stay in place there. So I'm going to narrow this down here. Likely use my Dremel to do most of it, but between that space right there. So I'll be right back after I carve that out with the Dremel just a little bit so it'll stay in place. Okay, so you can see I've kind of like carved a little notch there, which this should be able to sit in. Let's make a loop on this, at least part of the way around. This is some 12 gauge square that's been flattened, which is 12 gauge is 2 millimeters. The trick now is going to be getting that to solder the bezel right into the right spot, and then figure out what kind of a bail to put on this. And I think what I'll do is I'll sweat a little bit of solder on the back of this. That way, the solder will already be where I want it to be. I can just kind of solder it right down on there. Nobody ever likes it when something doesn't go the way you want it to, but sometimes you just got to roll with it. I'll try something similar to that ring in the future at some point. I had this bail I made from a video a while back about different kinds of bails, and I've been wanting to use that for some time. Kind of like the cup shape. So what if we mounted it above that like that? That would give it kind of a cool look. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need to create kind of a little loopy doodad there. Loopy doodad? Is that a thing? This is some 16 gauge square. So I'm going to try and get that soldered on to this side, but leave this one open so I can pop it through there, and then we'll use some easy solder to close that up. And then I think we'll pickle it. sure everything stayed together and is strong. Okay, well, I'm going to get that cleaned up. I do some slight adjustments on some of these little pieces here. That should give kind of a little bit of movement, I think. So we'll get that cleaned up and then we'll take a look at it. Get the stone set. Quite a different result than I started out for, but we'll see how this ends up looking when we're done. I'm just going to set this stone. I do this differently than some. It's the flat side of my chain nose pliers. It's a bezel pusher. And then I'll use the rounded outer part to burnish with. Now we'll do a little bit of burnishing here. I think that should be kind of a fun, interesting sort of pendant. Different. Wasn't what I intended, but sometimes you gotta go with the flow. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, I'd love it if you'd hit the like button before you go. That really helps to get my channel promoted. And I'd also love it if you'd go visit my main channel page. I have 600 plus videos now. I do 3 per week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Saturday. So there's quite a bit of content over there for you to check out and a lot of projects. So watch a few of those. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel as well. There's no cost to that, and it really helps me out. It also makes it easier to locate my channel and find my videos on a regular basis if you find them useful. Before we finish up, I'd like to thank a couple of groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and I could not do this without their help. They've created a lovely artistic community over there where we can all kind of tap into each other's knowledge base and resources. And so it's a nice place, and I do really appreciate their financial support as well. I couldn't do it without it. The other group are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 27,900, which is amazing. Thank you for that. I never in my wildest imaginings could have believed that I'd have that many people watching my videos, so thank you for that. Thank you also for the really, truly nice comments. I met some of the nicest people through YouTube. And I always appreciate your comments and your suggestions for videos, your constructive criticism. All of that stuff is really useful and helpful and makes my channel a better place. So thank you also for the contributions financially as well. When you buy me a coffee or do a super thanks or buy my merch or one of my ebooks, all that stuff makes my channel sustainable, and I really appreciate that. Finally, hit the video description down below for some important links. There's a link to my newest ebook, which is a guide to 2025's YouTube tutorials. It details materials and pictures of the project, a link to the video, difficulty rating, and some notes that I made about each project. So it's a lot of information packed into a small area. It's a great resource because it has all sorts of projects in it right at your fingertips, and it's a nice way to support my channel. So get yourself one of those. You can even get all 3 that I've done, 2023, 2024, and 2025. I did one for each year. And if you buy all 3 of those, it's a $15 discount. So check it out. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more about that particular community. It's a nice place with a lot of cool people. So check it out. And finally, there's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks I talked about at the beginning. I find them particularly useful for keeping track of my projects. So. All right, well, thanks for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.